what I propose to do is to pick up three things. One is, of course, some general remarks. Second is the institutional aspects. After all, there are technical aspects, there are legal aspects, but there are also institutional aspects. I will discuss more about the institutional aspects. And the third part of my talk, I will try to distinguish between sea and river.
Very nice.
And in the presence of hydrologists, it is a vain attempt, but I will try to do that, knowing that their compassion for me will pardon me for making any mistakes. One of the general things that I would like to say is that the notification starts on a very simplistic assumption that anywhere the saline water can reach, the zone is affected. As if there is nothing else that can affect a zone. The environmental aspects or the ecosystem of coast is not merely dependent upon the intrusion of salinity. So that too much of simplicity has actually caused a kind of distortion in the entire proposal. The second thing I find is again excessive focus. The focus is on industries, whether such and such industry can come or not come, as if that is the only development that affects environment. And other developments, whether it's a road or house or anything else, whether that affects or not is assumed as not significant. Third thing is that it all envisages a cut and dry picture. This is the HTL, and there it stands. You gave an explanation yesterday. Every 5 years they will redraw those lines. But I do not know whether this 5-year cycle has been maintained in the last 12 years or so. So in that case, that 5 year is merely a provision in the notification. And then my comment has some validity that these hard and fast lines have very little significance. After all, development will take place as you envisage in the next 20-30 years horizon. But when it comes to water level or high tide level, we take it as a static. That will also change with climate change, for example, with change in topography. With topography can also change because of erosion. It can also change because of certain development projects which tend to change the formation levels. So that way I think there is a problem of trying to have this notification on extremely simplistic principles. Next is that other than land, nothing of value is considered as asset. There are assets away from the shore in the form of not only marine life, marine aquatic life, but also in the form of corals, in the form of other minerals that are known to be present. They could also be present near the shore also. But nothing is envisaged as an asset other than land. So with these limitations, I think there is high time that new thought is given to it, and the whole thing is conceived on the basis of ecosystems. An ecosystem is a much wider concept than merely a piece of land. Lastly, I would like to say, as in all regulations, the focus is in trying to control development, not to plan development. And that runs through all the notifications of Ministry of Environment and Forest, that we assume that there will be a developer who will intentionally come with proposals to damage environment, and we sit there to obstruct him from doing so. Now, this is not there. We are capable of guiding him, only the system should be so modified, and we should have a demand for it. That development is not to be modified with environment, but development has to be planned with environmental concerns. So many people start their conversation or speeches saying there is a conflict between development and environment, saying that they could be harmonized. But both these sentences still believe that they have to work independently. None of them comes to the concept that they could be integrated, which means that just as you plan which way the various facilities will go, what will their level be, what will their cost be, simultaneously this particular dimension could also be part of planning of the project. So that is one thing I want to make, and that should be repeated on many fora so that it is heard. Recently I was reading that Canadians subject all policy changes to environmental appraisal, and we go to project level for environmental appraisal. Above the projects there are programs, above the programs there are policies or something in between also. So we should get involved by this with the courtesy of the system at early an stage, so that later on it is not viewed as a conflict. It should be treated as a joint product. Now I come to this point, institutional aspects. Now, in no other case you will find so many institutions having stakes in projects which are taken up in coastal areas. Ministry of Environment and Forest, of course, by the fact that if they did not have a stake, why did they come out with a notification? The state and UT governments, the Central Pollution Control Board, the State Pollution Control Board, UT Pollution Control Committees. Then there are these district CRZ authority and the state CRZ authority, and there is something called demarcating authority, which could be Survey of India, which could be somebody else. Then of course all these places, as they grow, they start having development authorities, and earlier than that they have municipal authorities, and where there is no municipality there is a Zilla Parishad, and there also new developments tend to come up. And away from the shore, the coastal guards have all the role in this matter, and there is a state maritime board which takes care of the ships, their coming, arrival and departure, and whatever happens during their stay. And then there are these state industrial development corporations which are on the lookout for sites which have not yet been polluted. So I say that these large number of institutions having a finger in this pie is a matter of great confusion. And the manner our government has solved problems of coordination is not at all a scientific way of doing so. I would like to give one example, very recent, so it comes up in my mind very quickly. A nephew of mine who is a chartered accountant and started serving in a private company, never came in contact with government machinery at any stage. His own class fellow and friend became a deputy commissioner in Karnataka, and this gentleman goes and visits him and comes back and reports how happy he was to meet him. And then he said, he is such a big man. He has 45 departments under him. Who gave him this impression that there are 45 departments under a deputy commissioner? Other than revenue, law and order, what is under him? Rest of it are the departments which he happens to coordinate and has a feeling he is governing them. Now, this is not coordination. And no coordination work can work in an atmosphere of subordination. Coordination is a teamwork. And a teamwork should be like a team in games. Even captains change. Captain becomes a player, player becomes a captain. In the academic institutions, deans change without lowering their status. So that way, this teamwork has to be inculcated in the activity of coordination, which is lacking today. And nothing better will come up unless this is changed. So that much about the institutional aspects. I now come to aspects that are, to my mind, very different between a river and coast. And therefore, all notifications, all dispensations should consider those differences very carefully. The first, of course, is the fluvial nature of the river. Sea does not flow, river flows. Then the function of the river to recharge groundwater. Contrary is our intention in the case of sea. We don't want that water to recharge our groundwater. River has a valley which can be is cognizable, that this is the area which falls under the river valley. And in the case of sea, there is no such valley. We only mark it up to the point it can reach during high tide level. Then river is a drain and sea is a sink, and therefore their functions differ. Then training is done for rivers for creating bridges. Sea is not trained by and large. Floodplains are fertile areas, and sea inundated areas, other than generation of salt, are not fertile areas. Abstraction of water does not affect the sea, but abstraction of water precisely affects the river. So by marking two lines, you will not protect the river nor conserve the river. Other factors will have to be considered so that a river keeps living. Of course, the difference between their flora and fauna is different, is there, and these require different kind of care. Phenomena like migration of fish and obstruction to migration is probably not to be seen in the case of sea, but very important in the case of river. Food balance is vastly different between river and sea. The density of aquatic organisms in river can be many, many times more than the density in sea. And then sea has some cultural attachment because of immersion of Lord Ganesha's images. Other than that, the kind of cultural association that people have for the river is virtually absent in the case of sea. So to conclude, I would say that their function, their perception, their connection with society is so different that the river zone regulation notification cannot just be a copy or largely based on coastal zone regulation notification. That's the only point I wanted to make in exactly 14 minutes.